What's going on, everybody? Dogman Dan here. We're in Warframe. We're talking Karak Wraith setup. Finally, I got this out here for you. So let's just do some quick comparisons. I'll show you the difference between the Wraith and the regular version, and we'll talk about how that slight difference makes a huge difference in the end. And then I'll go ahead and show you my setup here. So first off, just to let you know, I have taken this everywhere. I actually took my old Karak everywhere I wanted to go as well. But there are actually some big differences to the two that make this one even better. You can play it against the Infested, you can play it against every faction, you can play it in the Voids, you can play it in Tower 4s, all in how your play style is as to whether you're going to make this weapon work for you or not. I love it most right now with Oberon and with Volt Prime. The way I've got those set up, those are probably the best two for me with this. I'm sure there's a few other frames out there I can run this with. Of course, I can run it with my Loki Prime, but it is a great hidden weapon. Hopefully by now everything's been fixed for most people, and that people that should have gotten the weapon got the weapon, and all that. I can't control that. I'm sorry if you didn't get it, but let's take a look here at everything. So again, the Karak versus the Karak Wraith. You can see the Wraith has an increase in stats across the board over the regular Karak, which to me is the first time I've seen a Wraith that actually has the same exact stuff, it just increased. Usually a Wraith will have it becomes a side grade somehow, and it's a different basic damage type that goes up, and things get all messed up. But in this case, they just went straight up, basically doubling what was there, if you will. Not doubling, but changing the exact same stats, which is great because that made it easy to determine how to set this up. So the biggest change is status at 15% and magazine here at 60%. Otherwise, we're not going to worry too much about the critical because we never worried about it before. We wouldn't worry about it now. Not needed. And a little bit of change in the actual main damage type is pretty nice as well. Looking at a comparison of the two, okay, you can see the Karak versus the Karak Wraith. I've set the same exact build together. You see slight difference in the main damage in terms of increase. Not a huge difference, but it does actually change things when you're playing, okay. A little bit extra impact damage can't hurt. A little bit extra corrosive damage can never hurt. But what's nice is the status chances at 53% now versus 29. And again, our magazine capacity is at 60, and with a 53% chance of status here, the way I've set this with the one element, we're going to proc half of that magazine, basically, if you want to put it in the simplest way. So we're going to get our procs out on impact and corrosive mostly. So what you're going to see is you're going to see that stagger that comes from the impact, and you will have the armor reduction from the corrosive, making this thing a beautiful weapon. I don't need to worry about radiation and viral because, as you guys know, my Helios carries that with me, so that's the way it is. So with that, let's go ahead and get right into the actual setup here, and we'll talk about it. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the setup here, if you will. Alright, there we go. Now, there are a couple ways you can put this together, like I said, but we're going to focus right here on my 3-forma setup that I am maining right now, or running, okay? Real simple, V-slots across the board, okay? So, Serration maxed, Split Chamber maxed, Heavy Caliber's not maxed yet, but I've never felt it need to go any higher than the two from the top, and Shred maxed, which gives us our fire rate increase, actually, and our punch through. On the bottom row here, we're running with High Voltage and Malignant Force, the dual stats, okay? This is going to give me my corrosive damage. We're actually going to use a Crash Course for increased impact damage and a Rifle Ammo Mutation. I felt the 3-in, or the rank 7, is more than enough for this. If I want to put another form in, I can go with the rank 9. If they ever came out with a primed one, I could go even higher, but for now, that's all we need. Okay, and as you can see, the numbers are pretty good. And like I said, it's going to proc half of the time, and we're going to get some solid stuff out of here. But it's real simple. Keep it simple. Okay, we're not losing much in accuracy. To be honest with this, you can still shoot clear across the map because the spread of this weapon is so small. But for the most part, I'm playing this up close and personal, and this just works. Now, if you don't have, let's say, Heavy Caliber Crash Course, we can go ahead and talk about some changes you could do. Okay, and as you can see, we're still going to get some solid numbers. We're still going to get our increased fire rate. We're going to get a 72 magazine capacity in this particular setup. Still 53%, but we're going to bring up in radiation is what I'm using for this, right? So radiation is at 405. Huge changes. And as you can see, we kept the top part. We have serration, split chamber, shred, I should say. Sorry, spread. I'm thinking like butter. No. Shred is going to give us our fire rate increase, and punch through. Punch through is very important with this one. And we're going to use wildfire to get the extra capacity in our magazine and extra heat. And since we started focusing on heat, we went ahead and we used the Hellfire. Then we used thermite rounds and high voltage. All of that bringing in a radiation setup. And I went with a 9 on the rifle ammo mutation this time around. Okay. We don't have as much in the impact, puncture, slash, as you can see. These are pretty just the basic setups in here, but with the huge advantage in our element, with the half of the proc over this clip size, you can see how that's going to work out to your advantage. And you can use whatever element you really want to here. I just wanted to take advantage of the wildfire mod on this particular setup. But again, it just works as a 3-forma setup. It is what it is. But this is where I'm going with it mostly, and I love it. But if you have comments, questions below, otherwise I hopefully enjoyed this, and I will catch you guys in the next episode. Thanks for watching as always.